everyone and welcome back. I am pre-filming this, but on the day that this video goes up, it will be my 30th birthday. October the 22nd is a very special day to me. People tell me I don't look 30 and I believe them. But in order to celebrate this special day of mine, I have a hair in my eyes. Anyway, in order to celebrate this hair, I have decided to look back on my 30th reading year and look at some of the best books I've read in the past year. So I hope you're up for this. Let's get started on the list. In no particular order, I want to start with this book, Under the Udala Trees by Chinelo Oparanda, which is a book about a lesbian who lives in Nigeria, I believe, and this book makes me want to go to Nigeria for some reason, even though it's not much about the country. It's more about her unfortunate situation during that time that she lives in. Not that it's unfortunate to be a lesbian, but for her it is, because she lives with a mother who does not accept her as she is. The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. This book was so phenomenal. One of my best books of last year. I vividly remember it. Why did I say last year? I read it like 3 months ago and I was blown away. The Persian Pickle Club by Sandra Dallas, which I reread this year and still loved. This is such a pleasant surprise and very short book, so definitely read it if you have any interest in this novel. I also reread this year 2 books by Stieg Larsson, the first 2 books in the Millennium Trilogy. We have here Men Who Hate Women, as well as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'm not much into crime, but this is the series that I swear to whenever I recommend a crime. Even I liked it. On Beauty by Zadie Smith, which apparently is a book that divides the waters. Some people hate it, some people loved it. A classic, here we have The Winds of Heaven by Monica Dickens, who is Charles Dickens' niece, I believe, or granddaughter. I can't seem to remember right now. And this was my first read by Jonathan Safran Foer, and as you can guess, this author surprised me. This is Here I Am, and I absolutely freaking loved it. It's a very different book from what I usually read and like, but I still really liked it. Maybe that's the reason why. This book by Haruki Murakami. The unfortunate thing about this novel is that I can never seem to remember the English title. It's got to do with the colorless Tsuzuku Sasaki's pilgrimage. Years of Pilgrimage, something like that, but absolutely a phenomenal book. This book takes you to Japan, and it takes you to, what country is it? Is it the Netherlands or a Scandinavian country? I can't remember, but I really love this book. It kind of reminded me of another novel that is on my list, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm currently rereading it and I know that I'm going to love it. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and definitely one that had to be on this list. Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates, which is quite a huge book, but it's worth a read. This is a fictional piece of work based on the life of Marilyn Monroe, and Oates does a brilliant job at writing about her life and her point of view and what happened to her. Another classic, here we have Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. Who knew that Charles Dickens would ever make it to my favorites list, but he did. I tend to not really like his books, but this one I saw a lot of value in. I have one piece of non-fictional work, I think. I don't think there are others, but here it is. This is The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. One of the best books I have ever read. One of the books that has touched me the most, and a book that I would recommend that you read if you only had to read one book this year. I'm also currently rereading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, my favorite classic of all time. Obviously, once again, this had to be on my list, but I know that I'm going to love it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying rereading this amazing story. Hand to Mouth by Paul Auster, which is his first autobiography. And this one is especially interesting because the actual autobiography fills no more than these pages. The rest of the book is appendixes, which are selected works of his, selected plays of his, and other additional information, which is hugely interesting, at least it was to me. Anne Patchett's Commonwealth. I devoured this book and I need to reread it very soon. Another huge book, you know I love those huge novels. Here we have The Nix by Nathan Hill. And the next two books are by the same author whom I discovered this past year. First we have Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty, which is also now a TV show, but I preferred the book. And by her I also have here Truly Madly Guilty. I will say though that I have read a third of her novels this past year, which I did not really like. It was called The Husband's Secret, so I'm just trying to say that even though I really liked those two novels, I wouldn't consider her my absolute favorite or one of my favorite authors, not yet. The Circle by Dave Eggers. This story is so scary, so many things, but it's also a very important read. Then we have Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman, who is a Swedish author. Another one by Paul Auster. Here we have Invisible, which I believe to be one of my favorite books of his. A Danish and newly published book. This is Blækhat by Sissel Jo Gazan, which I would translate into Inkhat in English. Next we have Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, which was so good. I mean, this is another one of those books that takes place in Nigeria, and for some reason I am drawn to those kinds of stories about Nigeria and life there. I kind of want to go there someday myself, but definitely a book on my list. The World According to Garp by John Irving. John Irving is one of my favorite authors, and it's books like this that is the reason for that. The Crane's Dance by Meg Howry, which was such a pleasant surprise because this is about ballet dancing, and I'm not much of a ballet dancer if I have to tell you the truth, but this book made me want to become one. I also have here Midwinter by Fiona Melrose. This book I read in January, and I think it was perfect for that time of the year. It's about a daughter, I believe, no, a son and his father who live alone, and then there is this peculiar fox that keeps appearing in their lives. It's a very moody kind of book, meant in the way that it's perfect for midwinter. It's perfect for those cold months. It has an ambience of snow and cold weather, and it was such a delightful surprise. I also have here The Unseen World by Liz Moore, a very popular book all around. I understand why people love this book, because now that I've read it, I completely agree that this is a very interesting peek into a young girl's life and her addiction to her father, who one day starts forgetting very important things, and she starts worrying about him, and our main character is only about 14 years old. And the last two books are My Absolute Darling by Gabrielle Talent, as well as This Must Be the Place by Maggie O'Farrell, both phenomenal books that I read recently. That is it for my birthday celebrations. A huge list of books that I personally recommend and that I absolutely loved. I really adored these novels. I wish that I could read all of them for the first time again, but unfortunately I can't. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a splendid day, and until my next video in which I will be 30, happy reading!